No.
There it is.
Okay.
Hey everybody, this is Vincent Tseng on Instagram at the.wandering.warrior, and joining me today are Joseph and Jimmy.
Hi, I'm Josef Levitis from Moscow, and my background initially is boxing and Muay Thai, and I've done that for over 10 years, and but for the past almost 10 years, I've been doing traditional Chinese martial arts, specifically Mei Hua Tanlan, Plum Flower, Praying Mantis, the Shifu Prophet Silov.
Hi, my name's Jimmy. I'm from Hong Kong. Now I do Tai Chi and Northern Mantis, which is 7-star Praying Mantis. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we all have this intersection here. People who are following, you already know. If people who are new, I started with primarily Mantis boxing as well, just like these two. And I'm here in Taiwan studying Shuai Jiao, and I've also had some exposure. Hope to have more exposure to Mongolian wrestling, Mongol Boch, and we'll find that there's a lot of overlap here. But today, I think what we want to dive into is a particularly interesting story, at least for me and me and Joseph. Jimmy, can you tell us about your journey? How did this all happen?
Okay. Well, so I started learning a very typical Southern style in Hong Kong. Yeah, it's called Jow Ga or Jow Ga. So it's related to like Hong Ga a little bit. So I started because my father, he used to practice the same style. Like he was like really into like the line dancing and all those things. And then my mom stopped him because she doesn't like it. And then so I picked it up like when I was like 16, 17, right? And then I learned that for quite a while, like 5 years almost, yeah. And on the way, I also did a little bit of Bagua right? Bagua and then I went to a university in the UK. So there just before I left, I started Jiu-Jitsu, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I continue on like in the UK. So I stopped like with the Chinese martial arts for the next 4 or 5 years. I stopped, and then I just did BJJ, and I got to blue belt there. And then like I also trained like once or twice a week in Judo, because like the university I went to, they got like a really good Judo dojo. So I was like, what the hell? Like, just go and get thrown about. Yeah. And yeah, after I graduated, I came back to Hong Kong, and I continued with like my BJJ training for a while. But then it's just like it's really hard to do it well with a job. Like I'm a school teacher, so yeah. And I think like to improve in like BJJ like serious training, you need like 3-4 sessions a week at least, and I couldn't afford that like with time, my body. And so I just decided, perhaps it's time to do like go back to my roots a little bit. So I've always been like intrigued with like Tai Chi, because like the philosophy and like the movements, and actually like in a very indirect way, it's kind of related to like the grappling styles, like with Jiu-Jitsu and everything. So like when I watch people do Tai Chi, I see like those movements, those actions, they're related to what I learned before. So I was like, okay, it should be quite an easy jump. So I went on and learned a Chen style, and I did that for like 5 years. Yeah, and it was fun, but like I wanted more. So and then this chance came when I found out that like one of the kids that I was the teacher of, like his dad teaches Wu style Tai Chi, and he owns like a school like somewhere on Kowloon side. I'm on Hong Kong Island now, but yeah. So and I went to learn from him, and he's my sifu now. Yeah. And then so I've been doing that for almost like 5 years or so. And sometime last year, like it was like during COVID, so I was like, actually I've had this idea after learning Tai Chi. I've had this idea of like maybe I should compare it with other Northern styles, because Tai Chi essentially is a Northern style. So I've been looking around, shopping around, like checking different schools out online because COVID. So one day I saw this video of like my current Mantis Sifu. So there's this old guy just doing his thing, you know, in a video. And then I was like, wow, you know, it's really good. And then I sent him like a quick message on YouTube to see like if I could come and see and watch him practice. And then I was actually quite embarrassed, and then I deleted the message, but he found out anyway through his inbox. So he replied. So, and then we set up a meeting, and I saw him like last January actually. Yeah. So after that, we haven't stopped. We just every week we just practice. Yeah, and it was really fun.
I got a question. So,
Yeah.
what would you say was your initial goal, or perhaps goals, your primary focus in practicing martial arts, and how has it changed over the years?
Okay. Well, initially, I wanted to learn this because I like, you know, the typical teenager, like from my age group, like Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and yeah. So we grew up on Jackie Chan movies. Yeah, and then obviously like my dad kind of influence. I won't say he's a big influence, like because like most of the stuff he's forgotten. Like he's like really into like the lion dancing, but the kung fu part is like like the basic stuff he knew. And then I was like, come on, man, you know, it's got to be more. And that's why I chose the same style as him,
Right.
to begin with. And then I chose it, but we are from different lineages. So if we count like the hierarchy, the ranking, I'm the same as him
Oh, nice.
in the school.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was like how I started. Right. And then like some of my classmates back then, they were doing like Wing Chun. And so we would be like talking to each other, discussing after school. Yeah. And then eventually like there's this point where I reached this point where like is it practical, like the stuff I do, right? You start asking questions after a while, right?
Yeah.
And like back then in Hong Kong, there's this quite a vibrant group of practitioners, like from all styles. There's this community online. I'm not sure if I can say it, like they had a message board. It's called like I forgot the name, Kung Fu board or something. So it's like a lot of Hong Kong martial artists were there. And then they would be like holding weekly meetings, and then they would be trying things out. And back then, BJJ kind of like started in Hong Kong as well. So there's this BJJ school, they were there, and then they were like, yeah, there's this one week where they just destroyed everyone. So, and then I watched the clip, and I was like, yeah, this is quite interesting. And yeah, so that was the time when I was like doing my A levels as well. So I had to study. So afterwards, like that summer holiday for the next 3 months, I enrolled into like, I started training BJJ, and then I was comparing it with what I learned before. And then eventually I just started spending more and more time doing like the modern arts, like the BJJ stuff. And then I did like a month of Muay Thai just for fun. And then I found out I'm not a striker. It's like, I can't hit things. I'm more comfortable with just like grabbing things, so I just spent like all my time doing BJJ and Judo. Yeah. And then again, something changed after coming back to Hong Kong. It's like, they've got all this good stuff, right? We've got some good stuff as well, like traditional good stuff. But then it doesn't really apply in the modern world for some reason. Like, can we borrow something from like the modern arts and like rejuvenate into what we have? I mean, we're not changing the style. It's just we're training differently. right? It's the same style. It's just we're bringing modern sports science into the mix. You know?
I got a follow-up question to that,
Yeah.
to what you just said. What would you say are the key elements that you found most useful in each of the styles that you have practiced, or that you're still practicing, like Jow Ga, or BJJ and Judo, or Wu Tai Chi, or Northern Pride Mantis? What would you say the key elements that you really liked and that you feel are the most useful to you, or perhaps within the context of the sports or whatever, the self-defense?
Yeah. Well,
Health.
self-defense. Yeah, self-defense obviously is jujitsu. Yeah, I mean, if I were attacked on the street now, I know I wouldn't feel, too bad getting to the ground. At least, I know how to at least.
That's
get
where you
back
feel
up or
competent and comfortable.
Yeah, it's the confidence, the competency, everything that came from jiu-jitsu, right? I mean, even now when I was like, when I do like freestyle push hands with like the Taiji, my Sihings, right? I'm not scared of getting thrown or whatever, and that kind of gives me, time to manipulate, them during like match or whatever. But then I would say like Jow Ga, that gave me the foundation, like with the stances. I mean, it's a very good beginner's style. Like if we were like to train someone blank, typical Southern style with solid stances, like basic punches, one stance, one move, very simple, easy to remember. And the routines, right? If you do it well, it builds very good fitness as well. Yeah. And then for Tai Chi, obviously health, it's got health benefits. But aside from that, as I mentioned before, there's like the practical aspect of Tai Chi is, I think a lot of people they missed it because they're not looking for it. Like, as I said, if you look at it not as a striking style, but as a grappling style, it's very obvious, like how each of the movements are done. Like there's this move called 退步跨服. Like it's near the end of the routine. I'm not sure how to say it in Mandarin. 退步跨服. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, man, I'm killing the language. Anyway, yeah. So that move is obviously like a leg trip. It's kind of like Kosotogari in Judo, I think, almost in a way.
Okay.
That's how I would interpret it. If I was like grabbing a gi or something, I'll be like doing the thing with the collar and everything, and then I'll be tripping.
I'm not as well versed in Taiji terminology, but does it look vaguely like you're pushing up on one side, you're pulling over with another, and you're going into a street pool all the way down one leg, and this
yeah, sort of like that with the leg, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah. That definitely looks like a leg, some kind of.
Yeah, that's a sort of leg technique in Judo, and then there are others as well. Like there are obviously like there's the Wan Gong Save. There's this move again. That would be like manipulating someone with a gi. You'll be grabbing clothes, pulling them off balancing, those things. Definitely, well, they say now, right? My Sifu, they explain it's to strike from an angle. Yes, that also works, I think. But then that would be a very desperate and weird angle to strike from. Yeah. I'm not saying what he's teaching is wrong, okay? Like, definitely, it makes sense in a way. But there are other interpretations that perhaps we could be open to. Yeah. So from Tai Chi, that's what I learned, yeah, because if we take away the repetitive movement in the form, there's only like 37 techniques.
Unique standalone movements. Okay.
Yeah, and then if you strip those 37 down, basically there's eight ways to manipulate forces, right?
Mhm.
That's the 13 right? 13式, right?
Yeah.
In the Taiji menu. Yeah, the
Yes.
8 ways to manipulate the force with the 5 directions. Yeah. So, and then when I was reading things like this, in my mind, I am grappling with someone, right? That's the only way you can show where the force is going, is when you're actually in contact, gripping someone,
Mhm.
right? You can't really do a lot of those by striking or punching, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
tie and bang, right? Those are grappling stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's the way I see it. Like after learning BJJ, and then when I get into the Tai Chi, right? And then Tai Chi gave me another way to look at what we have, like Chinese martial arts, right? We got all these good stuff there. It's all there, right? It's whether we can tap back into it. Yeah. And then from the Mantis, well, I'm seeing like a really good art, it's like I think Mantis developed as a way, kind of like a revised version of Shaolin Chuan, I think. Because like when we practice, we've got one form in our lineage is a Tai Zhou Chuan, Tai Zhu Chang Chuan, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
general
so we yeah
Taiji, right? Mhm.
yeah. So we also have this form in our curriculum, and when we do that form, my Sifu will explain from this move, it developed like it. They do it this way in Shaolin. So when it came to Mantis, it changed, and then we can see yes, the movements are similar, right? So we can kind of see the art evolve by learning like the Taiju Changquan. And then obviously because like Mantis in Hong Kong is closely linked to the Qingwu Athletics Association. So we also have like Gongli Chuan,
Oh yeah.
Gongli Kun, right? Yeah. So I saw some of your moves, right, with the Gongli Chuan.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, that's the grappling stuff inside, right?
Yeah.
It's like the very first move is you're grabbing stuff. You're not gonna punch someone like, what are you doing, Superman? It's like no. Yeah. So again, when I was practicing the Mantis stuff, it's just it just adds on like the way we are seeing things. Perhaps it is time we change a different lens, because we got so many. It's so easy to watch others practice different arts now. I mean, like just go on YouTube, right? You get things like the Filipino arts, right? You get like pencak silat, like all those trapping, everything, right? I mean, that's why a lot of Wing Chun guys, when they like learn things in silat, they connect very easily. Like we've got similar concepts. Anyway, it's just the world
Yeah.
is so.
Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, did you see our conversation on that topic on the Silat and Southern Chinese martial arts connection?
No, actually,
It's it's
I click on many different videos. I try to get
check
like a comprehensive picture.
check it out. It's quite interesting.
When you have time, it's like an hour and a half or something. So when you have
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
When you edit this, put the link here.
Right. Yeah, just put it as, and then when I
Right.
see it, I can click.
Yeah. But I had a similar experience with that double hand punch, which is in one of our pre-Mantis forms that we learn as well, which is like Fan Mount Join. The wind demon circular punches
Yeah.
form. Anyway, so it has this move, and it's like when I first was learning it, my shifu was like, "Oh, it's a double punch." And I was like, "Okay," because coming from my boxing experience, I was like, "All right, whatever." Like double punches, I'm like, "Okay, I'm not a fan of that," but whatever. Because the other stuff was good. I was like, "Oh, okay, well, this is one technique that's weird." whatever. Maybe it works in some weird context that I don't understand. And it's
Yeah.
like literally like, maybe half a year later when we started learning applications, because the way he teaches is like very traditional. So we learn like the form first, then you break it down into movements, and then there's applications and stuff.
Yeah.
And by that time, of course, like half of the people in the class have left already, and so we're learning it, and he's like, no, that's not a double punch. I never said that. That's a throw. You grab somebody and throw them like this. He showed me like a really cool throw that really is cool. It works. And I was like, wow, all these guys that left and they learned just the form, they still think this is a double punch. So I think a lot of the times in Chinese history, this has happened quite a bit. People leave before they learn the real application.
Yeah. Oh, which, I mean, again, compare with like experiences learning like non-Chinese arts. This is something maybe we again, like as the next generation, right? Maybe something we have to address. Right? It's like the traditional way of teaching, man, is like what's with all the secrets? I mean, like
yeah. I think
I remember the
first. I think it made sense back then. It just made sense at the time. I think now, as like we are sort of the new generation, maybe we should cut down on that a little bit.
Yeah, we need to keep it alive, man. I mean, we're not bringing it to our graves. I mean, I remember like the first session of Jujutsu. I was there. I was totally confused and lost. Getting like a 300-pound guy on top of me, sweating and panting, and then I thought it was all over. But then no, that's when the rolling starts. That's the sparring, right? So after all the training, I was like, that's it. And then they pushed me out to the mat. It's like, let's roll. I was like, what? And then next thing I know, I was like getting tangled up, and then I came back for more. Anyway.
Right.
And that's what we need to do in the Chinese arts as well.
I think I agree, but I think there's sort of like maybe something we should discuss that bridges the two things that you guys just said. I mean, it's easy for this thing to be sustained without really trying when people are killing each other left and right. You're going to learn this stuff. You're going to have students. They want to learn how to fight because they need to, right? And you can keep your secrets because one, there's no slow-mo video capture of anything, right? You can keep your secrets. Two, there's no industry of people breaking down people's fight footage. Like even if you had footage, like nowadays we have people that actually sit down, break down the stuff, analyze it, teach people the stuff, right? None of that stuff existed at that time, right? Black and white pictures had just started coming about when this stuff was starting to gentrify, for lack of a better term. And then on top of that, you have these people that have passed down this legacy, which is a beautiful or brutal all-in-one legacy, but they're still stuck in a maybe overly stiff version of that time. I'm pretty sure back then, like if I was in a fight, Joseph came by, drop kicked the guy for me. Oh, great, let's be friends. Let me teach you something I know. You teach me something you know. Go on our merry way. Like I don't think there's any like, oh wait, hold on. Oh no, fuck that. I can't learn. Sorry. No. I mean, we may still show our respects in a methodology that is appropriate for the culture, appropriate for who our teachers are, who we need to pay utmost respect to. But we're not going to refuse to win in this technical arms race. We're not going to do that. We're trying to win. And what you mentioned about BJJ, I mean, one of the biggest things that separates what we call modern martial arts and traditional martial arts, tradition is the traditional context of fighting. Modern is the modern what is that? That's sports. It's combat sports, it's fighting sports. Right. I mean, you look at judo, is it a modern martial art? Yeah. Although,
Well, I would consider it. Yes, it's I would consider it modern.
but if you look at its technical base and the jujitsu it came from, what are these, like 300, 400-year-old jujitsu lineages that it came from, right?
Yeah.
So is it traditional martial art? Maybe from on a technical basis, but in terms of how it's taught, how it's promoted, how people continue to build their skill when they're not getting to street fights all the time, that's modern. Right. So I think I think you guys both
I know. Yeah.
Key.
It's kind of like getting the best from both worlds, right?
Oh yeah. And I think that's the tough part. How do you get the constant pressure testing and incentives and all that come out of fighting sports, but try to integrate that into traditional arts that were not developed necessarily for that kind of environment, right? That's the tough part, right? There's a lot of old school judo guys that would say, oh, new school judo, there's too many rules inhibiting things, can't do certain things. Old school kendo guys who would train all the Japanese weaponry just using the kendo format as a safety precaution, but now kendo has really become its own thing, so it's a tough topic. I don't think we're the only ones dealing with it, but I think Chinese martial arts are maybe one of the better preserved of all these ethnic traditional martial arts. Most places you think about them, the martial art is gone, right? If you think about any given South American, African country, half the countries in Asia, it's like, oh, where did the martial arts go? I don't know. Right? So yeah, I agree. I think we have a responsibility as this generation to do something about it.
Yep.
All right. So we all met through this website, I guess, or Instagram page, Humans of Martial Arts.
Yeah.
There, when you talk about your story in martial arts, you're saying that your goals in martial arts would be preserving and developing traditional Chinese martial arts. So with that, I have a two-part question. First would be, do you feel that Chinese martial arts are in need of preservation? Are they in danger of disappearing? And if so, why? And what are the reasons and dangers that it's facing? What would be the remedy for that? That's my first part, and then I'll ask you the second one.
That's only the first part. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. So let me. Okay. Yes, I think Chinese martial arts, on the whole, it's developing quite well, especially with obviously a large influx of students from all over the world. However, not all styles benefit from that. Some of the lesser known styles, they are dying out. Okay, especially those that weren't big to start with. Obviously some were quite big back then, and then they kind of dwindle and they're starting to die out now. But some, they have never been big to start with. So there's some really southern Mantis styles. We're doing northern Mantis, right? All three of us. So there's southern Mantis. Some of them are really 10 people practicing in Hong Kong, I think.
Or
right? So they were or none. They were in a TV documentary a while ago. I mean, I learned from that documentary, and there were only 3 people practicing that style, and one of them is almost 80 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, some styles don't benefit from the popularity of martial arts or Chinese martial arts for certain reasons. Maybe they never tried to popularize it. Maybe it's really hard to get into. Some of them, they require really stringent training, 基本功, right? All those training. Some people don't like that to start with, and so if we're going to preserve it, right, sorry, what's the second part of the first
Okay,
question again?
so yeah, the question was, do you feel that they're in danger, and why?
Yeah.
Why there,
Why?
and
Okay.
what are the
Right.
dangers, so to speak? You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. So,
what would be the remedy? Of course, the third one.
the remedy. Uh, well, like what we talked about earlier, some parts of the curriculum might need like they may have to like reprioritize things a bit, just to get the students coming in, or like don't keep that many secrets as we said before, or kind of like rebranding sort of in a way, like bring it to the modern age. If we're gonna teach like that certain style and we keep emphasizing, oh, it's hard work, man, it's like, you need to do like the iron palm training, and then your hand, you need to soak it in like the medicine, and then it gets really hard with the calluses. You're never gonna bend your fingers again, but then you can kill people with one blow. No one's gonna come. Maybe like we don't talk about that to start with. And for like praying mantis, like in Hong Kong, it's quite fragmented. I think like we don't
Worldwide.
have a,
Worldwide,
yeah,
it's fragmented.
we don't have a governing body. It's like if you check like the judo, right? They have a Gun, right? The Kodokan, right? Is it
Mhm.
Japanese? Yeah.
Yeah.
But they have some unifying body that can make decisions, right? And most people have to follow set in directions, right? And we don't have that. So I think another way to modernize, right, or to continue developing the arts in this age, right, would be doing something like this, which I know it's close to impossible.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's like because
Don't want to work together, it seems. At least when I was in the US, the Mantis scene there, um, yeah, people were not very uh the idea that we're all in this together, 武林一家, we're all going to advance the art together. That is no, there's none of that.
there's lots of talks about it.
Yes, there's talking
But
about it, but when it comes down to like, hey, let's put down money, let's put down a modified maybe Sanda tournament that favors Mantis style tactics to blah blah blah, and let's make sure that the champions can actually get money, get paid from doing this. Let's incentivize.
yeah,
nothing,
yeah,
nothing real
You know,
happens, right?
I think.
That might be the answer, or something like that.
Mhm. I think if like part of the success of judo is that they have unified rules for competitions, which is okay, we don't need a unified mantis, perhaps, or something like that. Like, okay, because Luhe mantis is very different from Taiji Meihua Taiji or Taiji Tanlan, or they all really are different, you know, right? But we could have a set of rules for competition that would favor the techniques, like the Taekwondo did. They came up with a format that favors kicking, and okay, you understand. It's obvious that it's limited in a certain way, but it favors that style, which is perfect. It produces athletes, competitions. Uh, People are enrolling, and there's it's an Olympic sport now, right? So you could have something like that. Okay, maybe not an Olympic sport, obviously, it's too just specific, but something that favors Mantis tactics, lots of grabbing, throwing, moving forward, attacking kind of style, put together a set of rules that would work for that.
So I think like the closest we got, right, like to unify, certain clubs or whatever, would be like something like Xingwu Athletics Association,
Right.
or like even like in Hong Kong, there are some schools that were founded by several different styles coming together. So like they rent a place, so that and then it's registered, right? It's a certain school, but then when you go in, you can learn like different styles. But then it's not really unifying in a way that
they just
like
share a
judo.
space. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a shared space, more like.
Yeah. Well, see, I think part of this is also a feature of the culture, so to speak, right? I think at one point you have this broad, there's broadly speaking a more northern Chinese ways of fighting, broadly speaking a more southern Chinese ways of fighting. There's a lot of overlap, but then there's some key differences and characteristics and their mentality towards how do I train a young man within a couple years to be good at kicking butt, all right? And then broadly speaking, I mean, it's as if we took the different countries' judo styles and we isolated them from each other artificially somehow for 100 years, and they had to train mainly with judo kata with occasional randori and very occasional partner work. We might see a bunch of judo set styles that don't necessarily cooperate, right? Because they've been separated into these lineages that keep to themselves, and they don't have a common way to interact, to compete, to have rivalries, to have collaboration, right? And that's one of the great things about, say, boxing or judo, where they have that. Honestly, I think if there was this might sound a little mean, but if you have something like a sanda with, instead of protective gear, maybe shuaijiao gear or shuaijiao clothing, or just some kind of clothing with no limitations on knees or elbows, we're gonna find out pretty fast who can sink or swim. And I don't know about the older generation or about certain individuals, certain customers, certain enthusiasts, but the average person is going to look at that and be like, oh, well, this school won for 3 years in a row. So there we go. Right. Oh, well, this school didn't win, but I saw them pull off some really cool trapping techniques I didn't think could actually exist. Wow. Okay. Right. And I think if we have a format like that, and if there's actual money behind it to incentivize it, because let's be honest, most of us, since we're not full-time combat athletes, or if we had that, it was for a little short period of time. We can't, if there's not some money, we can't risk getting our noses broken for an afternoon.
It's quite interesting. Yeah, it's quite interesting you bring it up, because I remember like back in like the 50s and 60s, right? People could still fight in the ring, like the different Chinese styles. Like you get like the Choi Li Fat, and then like my Sifu, he fought in the ring, and like his school, he like represents Taiji. It was like written on the banner. He fought in France once in the ring, but they obviously, these boxing matches got banned because like triad associations. And here we are. But I remember in Taiwan, don't they have aren't they developing like the Baji Chuan and the spear fighting in this way? Like they have rules for this round.
Yes,
like
yes,
with
yes.
the Wutan.
So Taiwan has a very interesting mix of ingredients as well, similar to Hong Kong. There's a whole lot of martial arts here, and Taiwan, at least, it had for a time a very vibrant sanda environment, as well as a combat jujutsu environment, which I'll get into in a moment if you guys aren't familiar. I think it's mostly a Taiwanese thing. And of course, they're trying to develop the half pike, 8-9 foot pole type sparring. It's mainly the Ming Dynasty enthusiast crowd and the Baji Chuan folks that are developing this spear fencing sport. Of course, like archery and pole arms or spearmanship is like pinnacle of just stereotypical pinnacle of Chinese weaponry contribution to the world, right? So there's people that are trying to bring that back, and they're going the sport route, because how can you make it fun and attract people, and how can you make show things happen without any doubt to this veracity? Something comes in, you deflect it, pop, pop, and you hit him in the face. That's how you do it, right? You didn't get hit, and you hit him in the face. You got skills. that's it, right? So Taiwan has a lot of good things in that regard. The combat jujitsu is they wear like judo or jujitsu gis, and it's almost like it's a little bit like combat sambo, because you punch, kick, throw, whatever, and then you have a certain time limit on the ground to finish them off. If you don't, I mean, you still get the point for the takedown or the throw, stand up, fight again. So it's kind of the Taiwanese, Japanese influenced combat sambo. There's actually even a arena in Kaohsiung, a city maybe 40-50 minutes away from me, where it's a lei tai in a pool. So if you get thrown or kicked off,
and then you fall into the water,
and somebody comes over with a float thing to come save you. I'm like, this is perfect. Why aren't we doing anything with this?
We should also put crocodiles in there just for fun.
Oh, spice it up. Make them, that could be a movie.
I'll have like a pirate boat that comes in, and they take you hostage, and your relatives have to pay.
People would love that, but I think that is a problem. We don't have Japan has the government, Korea has the government really pushing this art that they have adopted as, oh, this is going to be our national art, so push, right? China has a very, I don't want to say just China, say countries like China or Taiwan or Vietnam or some other areas where there's a huge diversity of martial arts. There's not exactly a successful nationalization of the martial art, right? And the government
in China, I think they have nationalization, and we ended up with modern wushu.
Okay, yeah, I don't call that martial arts. I call that it's an athletic performance. There's no doubt about it. They're very athletic, but I wouldn't call it I think that's become its own thing, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I'll piss somebody off, but it's okay. But they have very mixed feelings about promoting their just a standard fighting format. Like it's tough. They're not pushing Shuaijiao on the same level, because judo is in the Olympics, so judo gets national priority, right? Greco-Roman or freestyle will get national priority. So that's cool, but that's folk stuff, and that might not be fully Han Chinese anyway. So people feel all type of way about it.
What is Han Chinese anyways?
And let's be honest. What is Han Chinese? It's not one monolithic thing for the last 5,000 years, right? And people learn from each other. So it's whatever. And then Sanda is
cultural exchange now.
Well, so that's the thing. I think that's an issue where you mentioned judo. Judo has done this very well, but judo has one unified backer, and they get to set the precedents for, okay, what are the rules, what is allowed, what is not allowed. This is the spirit of judo. China has no such.
An interesting fact that like judo was pushed not by like any sports governing body to start with, is like the Ministry of Education. So it was like in the school curriculum. It's like primary kids, they need to do kendo and judo, right?
They brought that here too. They wanted us to be Japanese, and that's part of how they do it. I'm right or wrong, no matter your views on it. It's part of that was part of their nation building. You know, just the same time as there was a Jinwu Athletics Association, there was Kendo and Judo being taught in Japanese schools to, you know, Bushido, and Emperor, and like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
they thinking about doing that in Russia for Sambo.
For Sambo, right?
Yeah, they won't put it in a school curriculum. There's discussion of that,
Interesting.
which would be pretty cool.
What about Systema? Is it?
Ah, that's bullshit.
That's really okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I found out like a
that's
lot
made
of
up.
like the Systema stuff. Like I would sometimes I wonder if we allow Taiji to like develop into the modern era instead of its current trajectory, maybe
Yeah.
we would end up with quite similar concept, like with relaxation and those things.
Nah, it's entirely bullshit. Unfortunately, here's the story on Systema. Like it has never taught in any special forces, nothing like that. It's all crap. It has never happened. It's nothing of Systema was ever taught anywhere. It's made up by this guy. Forget his name. There's a lot of martial arts bullshitry going on in late 80s, early 90s, because everybody wanted to do martial arts in Russia. There's a lot of reasons to do it. There was a lot of fighting going on everywhere. You know, you could get in a fight, go out, you know, mind your own business and get in a fight. You know, so there was like a lot of like fake karate, fake wushu, fake everything. You know, there's very real boxing and sambo and everything. You know, but you know, people they lean towards mysterious stuff a lot of times, right? So there was a lot of fake martial arts there, and some of these guys that they were, you know, smart businessmen. They were like, well, you know, why claim, you know, fake Japanese heritage where you can just come up with stuff that and claim that it's our own stuff, you know. And they came up with this system of stuff, which was loosely based on watching Chinese martial arts films. So there's
like,
that.
I have a good friend who teaches Systema.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I didn't say anything bad about this.
Yeah, it's a cult. It's a cult. Ryabko and all these guys, they made this stuff up. Everybody in Russia serves in the military. Everybody. So like when they sell it to the West, where like it's not mandatory, like in States, you know, in England and Germany, you know, it's not mandatory. You don't have to serve in the army. Here, everybody serves in the army. So they're like, well, I served in the army, and this is what they taught me. And he served in the army, but all they teach in the army is combat sambo, and there's another rival system which is called army hand-to-hand combat. They don't like each other too much, anyways. So those are the two things taught in the army, and nothing else is taught has ever been taught in the army, right? What they did is they came up with this nonsense, and at first they were running into trouble because in Russia it works like this: you claim something, you open up a school, bunch of people gonna show up and challenge you. They're gonna beat the shit out of you. You don't know anything, right? So
sounds like China back in the Qing Dynasty.
it was exactly like that. They'll show up and they're like, okay, it sounds good. Do you want to spar? You cannot really back down. You have to spar, right? And then they get knocked out or whatever, or thrown on their ass if somebody, you know, with any experience shows up, right? So they very quickly ran into that problem. So they started to because they were doing really well as far as like amounts of people they were training. They would hire professional sports guys to represent them and claim that they are Systema. Like they would hire a professional boxer or a sambo guy, and he had, you know, in the 90s the sports system just collapsed. There was no money to be made within the professional sports. They all got hired out to organized crime or to just as bodyguards or whatever, and they used that. They would hire them. It wasn't that expensive. they'd be like, okay, you're gonna sit right there during the class. So somebody shows up, you're gonna spar them. That's
Right.
it. And they were like, oh, okay, well, I don't know if Systema works the way they show it works, but they can fight, right? And they can, you know.
Right.
Right. If you show up at a seminar and try to beat up on Michael Ryabko, there's gonna be a guy there that's gonna kick your ass.
Who does combat sambo?
Yeah, yeah. He's gonna throw you for real. You know, that's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, everybody in Russia sort of knows this. So Systema in Russia is practically non-existent. They sell it to the
Right.
West because here
Right.
everybody knows that it's bullshit. You know, so they're very popular in the United States and things like that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah. Where
Right.
it sounds mysterious. It's like, oh, he served in the Russian military. Well, my grandma served in the Russian military. Everybody serves in the fucking Russian military because it's mandatory. So what? You know, everybody in my family served. Big deal.
Yeah, that's kind of like in Taiwan. If they're like, oh, you learn military jiao. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, if you just ended up in the right regiment, you got taught 10 throws, and then you threw each other, and
Yeah.
you got great cardio
Yeah,
because
it's
you're
like
in the military, and
yeah,
that's,
yeah. Like
got it.
my dad, he's a boxer. You know, he did boxing, right? Like my
Mhm, mhm.
grandmother, my grandfather, and my father both did. But so he served in the military. So they taught him some basic hand-to-hand combat. So he knows how to throw people as well.
Mhm.
You know, just from being in the military, he can throw people around and knock them out as well. So good
Yeah.
stuff, you know. But he never learned any Systema. Yeah.
Right.
Although I will say this, I think that there is how do I say? There's occasionally there is occasionally a benefit to things like Taiji or Aikido going the way it has. I think when you take the pressure lid off of any system, the traditional, violence, sometimes you get to explore concepts to a greater depth than they would actually be in normal
Yeah.
street fighting. Same with things like
Mhm.
Taekwondo. If your life depended on it, how often would you kick like that? Probably not as often.
Yeah.
But once you can kick like that, and then you reintegrate into an environment that is more holistic, realistic, fighting, whatever, hey, you got something that no one else can do in that kind of environment generally, right? So I think sometimes taking something out of the pure combative environment, tinkering with it, and then putting it back in can be really useful. Like say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a great example. They focused on the newaza, the groundwork, far more than traditional judo, traditional Kodokan judo did, right? 70-30 became kind of flipped, almost 30-70 in terms of tachiwaza, nagiwaza to newaza. But if you get good enough at it and at a one-on-one with somebody, hey, you got something that the rest of the world, aside from some catch wrestlers and a few others, weren't working on because it wasn't part of the traditional concept of getting your head stomped on and kicked if you fell on the ground.
Yeah.
So that's credit goes where it's due, right? So I think sometimes, although sometimes it's kind of like, what the hell is that shit? But at the same time, depending on how you develop it, sometimes you can develop some really cool stuff by isolating it, putting it through its own kind of pressure chamber, and then throwing it back in and seeing what happens.
Yeah, man, boxing, history of boxing.
Yeah.
It's limited striking above the waist in only a certain way, and look how far it's gone.
Yes.
It developed the way to the level it has developed only because it was limited.
Yes.
Like severely limited. Like
yes.
Just strike from here to here, and you're not allowed to strike in any other way than like certain way, like straight, circular, an uppercut, and cannot hit behind the back, behind the head, so on and so forth. I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was only gonna say, despite the fact they put those limitations on themselves, have that isolation, the sporting context isolation, everybody talks about how to get past a boxer's initial combo. Everybody. Wing Chun,
Yeah.
BJJ.
That's a problem. Yeah.
Pilat. Wrestler heavy people going to MMA, like, oh, well, he's got a good stiff jab and this, you have to be able to get past that and the cross and then go in, right? Just because they're limited doesn't mean that if you play their game, you won't get hurt, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
For sure.
the isolation has its benefits too. And I think maybe going back to what you said with Taiji, it, even if it may not have necessarily been such a distinct thing when it was first born, right? It's certainly become philosophically and pedagogically the way it's taught. It's a very much on brand, recognizable, certain family lineages. This is Taiji.
Yeah.
The techniques in there, there's nothing wrong with them per se. It's just how are you going about training this stuff? And are you
I think like with
what it is? At least
with Taiji, I mean, like the technique is, I mean, like those 37 moves I said, like in the routine, out of that 37, I think 29 of them were like in standard Northern Army training manuals.
Yeah.
So it's like a pretty like prevailing Northern thing back then.
Yes.
So they took those moves, but they added like the way they move the qua, like to generate power. So they added little bits of that. Yeah. So I think that's like the distinguishing characteristic that makes it Tai Chi. So in a way, you can take basically any move and you can Tai Chi-rize it. I don't know if that's the word.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think so. Yeah. Something like that.
Okay. So what's the second part of the question?
All right. So now to the second part of the question is going to take another 40 minutes. So you were talking about like preserving and developing. So preserving was sort of discussed. What do you mean by developing? Like, what are the underdeveloped areas, so to speak? What are the aspects of Chinese martial arts that you feel need developing, and how do we go about it?
Okay. So I think from Tai Chi's perspective, right? So I mean, like the way we do push hands, right? Again, it's more like you have to popularize it. So in a way, you have to make it like into a sport. I think in Taiwan they have like the national push hand competitions.
Yeah.
I've watched it on YouTube. Yeah, and that's similar. It's a similar way of how we do it in Hong Kong as well. Like, well, in our school anyway. That like there's the two different formats. There's the one where you're stationary, and then there's the one where you can move around. But we don't practice the moving around that much because limited space, mats, and I'm the youngest guy in the school, so yeah, we do the stationary push hands a bit more. But that's one way to develop it. Like, people need to know what the movements are for. So you're showing them like the end result. Well, it's not the end result. I think push hand is just something intermediate, right? So from push hands, it will go on to something like sanda, maybe, right? And then once you get the distance, when you close in, then that's where the push hand training comes in. But then it will be different from when you train push hands, because like if you just do push hands, it's more like grappling. So like if you develop to more like combat fighting, then obviously there's a different range. So there are different things you need to do. Like for a Tai Chi person, then you need to close the range, which I think a lot of sifus don't really point it out. Like if you watch push hands like in the park sometimes now, like the way they do it is like even before COVID, you think they've got COVID. It's like they're pretty far away from each other.
Let me ask something real quick. Wild card question here.
Yeah.
You guys think that some kind of Chinese martial arts sort of traditional fighting competition thing should have what sumo does. You are mandated to charge at each other in the beginning. You have to close the distance. You guys think that could be good? Like, instead of people trying to box with skill sets and techniques that are meant to smash in and throw people, instead of trying to like stay outside and box, why don't we just
right.
I mean, that's where 90% of it actually applies. Like, let's just let's just do it.
I think it might work, but it really depends on the style. Yeah, I mean, like if we have that sort of competition, then obviously the Shuai people will agree, probably win, and then next you will get like the more like Taiji in a way, because like they do like push hands, right? They're fine with it. But then I would imagine people like even Wing Chun people, they fight very close distance, right? But then their close distance is still striking mostly. They do have grappling, but then it's not exactly the way they do in sumo or any grappling competition.
Hey, if they have their footwork down, shifting to the side, they can dissipate that force. It's all good. We can see what happens.
Yeah, I have good friends training Wing Chun as well, so I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying anything.
All right,
You
so
just said it.
That's a partial thumbs up for my idea.
I think you just said it all.
Yeah, I think I'm losing a few friends through this discussion, but there's the Systema one, and then there's the Wing Chun guys.
Hey, this is all me and Joseph. It's been a great.
Thanks to us, right? You're gonna be left friendless and depressed.
Well,
kicked out of all schools.
I think it's kind of like MMA, although MMA is a very thin style wrestling and groundwork favorable type of format in many ways.
Yeah.
But at first we thought, oh well, no one's using spin kicks in MMA, so it can't work. And then people started using spin kicks in MMA, and now everyone's like, oh, wow,
spinning back fists.
People are like,
things, right?
separate their hands and then kick them in the face. Oh, that's some Karate Kid stuff. No, that can't work. And then, the karate guy is doing it. Oh,
Man,
it works.
I remember my father, who's a boxer, and when I started doing all kinds of karate and wushu and stuff after boxing, he was like, watching some competition, some guy did like a spinning back fist. This was like maybe 80 something, and it was like some kind of a kickboxing competition. He was like, this is ridiculous. That could never work. He's not gonna hit anybody with that. That's a ridiculous technique. I'm like, well, you should see the competitions now. I mean, like, wow, people getting knocked out by this left and right.
Remember all these crazy moves? Hammer fist didn't work. They didn't think hammer fist worked. Now half the time when they ground and pound somebody, it's just
that's just
it's just
right. And we have that in Mantis as well, right? The fans here, right? Yeah,
all over the place. Yeah, and I think a lot of times it's not so much that Wing Chun shifting to the side doesn't work. We know that if something comes at you and you shift to the side, that's a good thing. So many martial arts do that. Like, tactically speaking, that's a good thing. Maybe it's just your timing. Maybe you're a little too stiff. Maybe you're a little whatever. You haven't done it with somebody just trying to get a double leg on you, or trying to just overhand right on you, right? But if you have, I'm very confident the tactic is not invalid. It's just a matter of have you
that shift in Wing Chun is just basically what they call sidestep in boxing. It's a normal technique. You just need to practice it the correct way, I guess.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, I've got nothing against it. It's just a matter of, I feel like if there's that kind of environment, providing that kind of pressure, it will come out. And people want to win,
Yeah. I mean, just to backtrack a bit. So we were talking about this question from the
Developing,
Tai
right.
Chi perspective, right?
Yes, yes.
And from Mantis, it's I think it's something I learned from my current Sifu. So I mean, the way he teaches is quite different. I'll say, like from my previous like teachers in traditional Chinese martial arts. He taught all the applications first. So we would be like, say, 2 hour training session. He would spend like an hour and a half or more. Just we would be practicing like right? Just keep practicing, and then we'll be having like pad work. So he would get like, and then we bought like MMA gloves, and we'll be trying the moves, and then we'll be doing like, what's the Mandarin? Is it pai an, right? Pai on, right? All those things we'll be practicing, and then yeah, we'll be kicking pads and stuff. And then like for the last 15-20 minutes, and it was like, oh, time's running out. Let's do the forms. Here, I'll teach you very quickly. You know, like all this stuff. All right, practice, memorize. All right, come back next week. Because we don't have a fixed training location, so we rent like the government stadiums every week. So yeah, when the bell rings, we gotta go, right? Because the next group's coming in. Yeah, so he'll be rushing like the forms. We've got like 15 minutes just to memorize. It's like yesterday we were practicing Gong Li Quan yesterday. Yeah, so we were doing that for like 20 minutes. I mean, like some of my like Xiheng Xizhe, they couldn't catch up like with all the movements. And then Steve was like just do it, and 1, 2, 3, and then we'd be looking at each other like, are we doing it correctly? Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah, but then yeah, that's how to develop. I think like from a Mantis standpoint is like, because there are so many forms in Mantis, right? It's quite easy to be captivated, and then you go down the rabbit hole. You start learning like one form after the other, right? So you get like the different. You learn the first 4, the fundamental sets, and then you want to learn like the other ones, and then you see some of your Sihengs, they do like the more advanced forms, and they're like, oh, I want to learn that as well, and then you just keep learning one form after the other. But then, like, how do you use those moves, right? And then, like, the way my Sifu teaches us now is that he teaches like all the different combinations, like from Aolao, and then you can do all the different, like the and then the Bang Choi, right? He really he really likes Bang Choi, so we keep doing this many times, and then he told us to get things like, we bought things like this to practice like the grips, and then we'll be like doing our Bang Choi using this just to train, and then we'll be like snapping, right? So it's something like from his experience, he found like he loves this move. Everything that he does, all the techniques builds upon this move, right? So he would start with this, and then everything else comes after from the Bang Choi. So we from him we learn his way of interpreting the art, but then it's got nothing to do with the forms. Yeah. So, and finally, in the last like 15-20 minutes, when he started teaching us the form, we'll be like, hey, we've done this combination before, right? And he said, yeah, I taught you everything already. You know everything already. It's like, just quick. We only have 10 minutes left, and we need to go. Yeah.
So I got a question with that, more related to your own training. Like, what is your typical training regimen? Like, let's say there's like technique, there's back work, there's athletics training, there's partner work, weapons. How do you break it down when you're in session with your shifu, and how do you break it down when you practice on your own, for example?
Yeah. So 7 days a week, right? So only 2 days we get like Friday I train Tai Chi at my Tai Chi Sifu school. So he has a fixed location, right? So when I go there, that's where I do my punching, boxing, you know, because he's got a punching bag, he's got a sandbag in the gym. So that's where, so I got boxing gloves. So I go in, usually I'm earlier than the rest. So I start doing like throwing punches at the bag, just doing, you know, 1-2s, basic combinations. And he would be watching TV or just having a cigarette just next to me. And he usually don't comment on like the way I practice, because like those things would be like basic boxing drills. Like he would think it's not really Tai Chi. so I'll be doing like 20 minutes, half an hour of that. And then my other siblings, they would start coming to the gym or to school. And then we will have a Neigong practice. So yeah, because like in our lineage, we have a set of Neigong, which it's killer, man. It's like I'll be sweating like a pig when after I finish practicing Neigong. Yeah. So it's really painful to begin with. Like I've been doing it for like close to 3 years now, the Neigong. So he doesn't teach it in the beginning. So he the way we learn the Neigong is we have to do the bai xie or bai. I don't know, you know, you have to
in Mandarin.
Yeah. So there's this ceremony. So he only start teaching the students after they have completed the ceremony. Yeah. So but anyway, I've been training it for like 3 years now, and so we will be doing that, and that's close to almost 45 minutes, 50 minutes with the Neigong. And then we move on to practicing the form. And the way we practice the form is when Wu style Tai Chi came to Hong Kong, right? Because that's the founder of the style. So he came to Hong Kong, and then he modified the routine. So we have 2 ways to practice it. So there's like the classic standard style. We call it the round form. You couldn't. And then when he came to Hong Kong, he developed what we call now the square form. It's because he need to popularize the style. So with the square form, it's basically like a freeze frame of each of the movements. So like the Lam Mei, the circle form would be like flowing like this, right? So in the square form, it would resemble something like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like this. So in my Sifu school, we would do the square form first, and then do the round form. And then after that, I move on to push hands. If any of my Siheng are up for it, then we will practice push hand. If they're not up for it, then I grab something else to practice, maybe like one of the weapons, like the sword or the spear. Yeah. And sometimes because my Sifu, he has mats, so sometimes I roll the mats out and I practice like break fall, things like this. So that's a Friday night for me. And then on like Saturday morning, it's weapons training for 1 hour. And then the second hour is push hands, not freestyle push hands, but all the drills. Because like in our lineage, there's around 4 stationary push hands and 4 moving push hands drills. So we do that for 1 hour, and that's a Saturday. And then Sunday it's Mantis training for me. So I've mentioned how my Sifu teaches us on a Sunday. Yeah. And sometimes, right, I get like bruises on my arms. Yeah. And then I'll go to school and they will ask what happened. I usually say it's my wife.
Yeah. Oh, that's natural. Practice Mantis, you're gonna get all along.
Yeah. And then some of my colleagues, they know I practice like Kung Fu, and then they will ask, well, your arm looks like this. What about your Sifu? And I said, he's got nothing on his arm after you know, he would do like the all these with 3 of us, 4 of us, and he doesn't feel pain, you know. And he's like 60 plus years old. So anyway, yeah. And then during the week, like the rest of the week, Monday to Friday, Monday to Thursday, I practice at home. So usually I came back from work, so I would immediately just do the Nagong practice, and then I will be doing like hanging with these, and then I have a heavy staff, and then I will be doing like the Tseng, right? I don't know how to say it in Mandarin, just that, and then some form practice, and I usually end with just there's another shorter version of the Taiji form we do. Yeah, I usually end with that. So that usually takes over 1 hour. So I spend over 1 hour every day just do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Do
Sounds
you,
good.
do you ever get a chance to use push hands, redirect, or unbound somebody, and then use a throw or a sweep from Taiji to follow up afterwards? Do you ever get a chance to do that with some of your training partners?
Yeah. So when we do like the stationary push hands, the freestyle push hands, a lot of the moves, like like the typical arm drag, I find that very useful. Like it's 100% efficiency. That move is like usually when we stand, grab the wrist, arm drag, and then he's off balance. Right? Yeah. So I think the arm drag is actually, again, it is in the Tai Chi routine. And then obviously it is in Mantis as well. I find the arm drag. Yeah,
quite a bit.
But I think we like in Mantis they do it differently though. The arm drag, like because in my head when I do the arm drag, it's more like the Marcelo Garcia version, right? Like the BJJ version.
Wow.
But then in the Mantis, it's more like that.
Yeah, I think it's all valid depending on the angle and your distance from the person, where you're grabbing on the arm. Yeah.
So, a quick question: how many people are in your Tai Chi school and Mantis school in general?
Right.
What are the ages?
Right. Let's talk about the Mantis school first. Like my sifu, he doesn't really teach for a living. Yeah, so he owns a. I'm not sure if you have it in Russia, but I'm pretty sure you have in Taiwan, right? The tutorial centers. Right. Yeah, the after-school tutorial schools, right?
No, we don't have that.
Yeah. So yeah, my sifu, he owns one of those centers. So he teaches for fun, basically. He doesn't charge us anything. So, I think I am one of the few external people that he teaches. Like the rest used to be his students in the tutorial centers. Yeah. So in the beginning,
you're not doing
they
too good
learn
on your grades, but if you like to fight, I mean, I do this other.
Yeah. So that's the Mantis school. So we have like around 4 or 5 people. That's it. We're a very small group. And then for the Tai Chi school, there are more people, but I think 30, 40-ish, some maybe 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but they don't show up all the time. They don't show up all the time. It's like some of the people, I only see them once a year, like during the birthday banquet of my sifu.
So it's more like maybe 20 that consistently show up, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about them. I mean, sure, I mean, pay your respects to sifu during his birthday. It's very important, but yeah.
He's a very, very nice person. Nobody judge him.
Yeah, but yeah, usually I think I would say like 20 regulars, 25 regulars. Yeah, and we come on different days as well. It's like me and 2 others, and my wife. So 4 of us, we usually train on the Friday night. So, and then there's a group that I know they train on Wednesday, and it's also the people we meet on Saturday mornings, like in the push hands class. Yeah. So those are the regulars. Yeah.
All right, that's typical. Like That's the 4 or 5 people thing. It's
Is it
yeah,
the same like in Russia? Or?
yeah. Well, right now it is. I mean, like back in the 80s and 90s, all the schools were huge. I mean, it's like I remember going. My friend went to like a Wing Chun school, and I come in
Yeah,
as like roughly, I don't know, 300 people standing in rows doing, you know,
yeah,
the doing the basic form. But right now all the schools are like that. It's like
yeah.
not so
10
fashionable
people,
anymore.
5 people. Traditional, yeah, traditional. The
Yeah.
MMA gyms are full, of
And you
course.
guys don't train in the park, right? It's not a
we,
thing, right? Is it?
no we actually we
We
do
do
we
sometimes.
train outside all day long, all year long. Like right
Yeah.
now it's like minus 25
Yeah, I saw
degrees
some of your
outside.
clips. You were like in the snow.
Yeah, we just I was just done training with the guy
And you were
here.
lifting the stone, right?
Yeah, minus
Yeah.
25. We were just throwing each other in the snow. It's
Yeah.
great. You don't need the mats.
That's true though. That's true. Throwing into the snow is actually pretty comfortable.
It's great.
Is it?
It's great. You feel
Throwing onto hard
nothing.
bit
You feel
sucks.
nothing. You
I
can roll
mean, I'm pretty
around.
sure I feel nothing once I just step outside in that weather. Yeah.
Yeah, you're already numb, so it's all everything's
Yeah.
good.
Now you're actually very hot. You get really, really sweaty and hot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can't
The
take off
only
your coat.
problem. Hmm?
Yeah, you don't want to take off your coat either because you don't want to get cold all of a sudden, right?
Well, the younger guys do it. Like we had with this. We have this one guy who used to like do. He would go out and fight and make competitions from our school. But anyway, he used to like take his clothes off and like minus 20 and like train and like this, like bare chested and everything. I don't do that. That's crazy for me.
I can mentally do that, but my body's gonna hate me later. I'm gonna lose a couple fingers, frostbite, nipples.
Trust me, don't do that. This guy was a little nuts. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Not a good idea. Yeah.
Is is
Yeah.
uh is outdoor training big in Hong Kong? Is rooftop training is still like
Uh,
a thing?
yeah. Rooftop training, not so much now because like lots of those old flats they've been knocked down and redeveloped. Like the modern buildings, they don't really have a rooftop for people to train. And there is still some. I mean, like Jow Ga, Jow Ga is quite they're quite a presence where I live now. I live in Saiwan. So
Mm.
this is I think the Western District on Hong Kong Island. So I think just like 2 streets across from where I live now, there's a Jow Ga school. I don't know those guys, but I heard of their school, and we are from the same lineage.
Oh.
And then if you keep going like a couple more streets, there's another one, and they have a rooftop. So I've been there for about 2 months
Oh.
before they kicked me out. Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe I asked too many questions, but yeah, I trained on that rooftop for a few times. It was nice. And then I remember one time that we were I was training with them. They were teaching me this like the short dagger forms, the double daggers.
Mm.
And then these two policemen, they just came up and they were like walking around checking out the weapons rack, and then they were like looking around, and everybody just they were really quiet all of a sudden. It's like it's quite a strange experience. The police they just walked around and they left, and then people start talking again. Everything's back to normal. Yeah, but I also train with some people from like different styles. I mean, it was just a really short. How do I say it? It's like because in Jow Ga, like the lineage that I train in when I was a kid, they don't have a sword form. So I really wanted to learn the sword. So I was like, remember that online community I talked to you about earlier? So I found someone that's willing to share their sword form. So I went to learn from that guy for like 2-3 weeks, and they were training on a rooftop, which they borrowed from another school. And apparently that school has died down. so they don't really officially have a school to train in now. So they lost the rooftop.
Oh,
Yeah,
primary.
yeah. So yeah,
I got a question on Hong Kong specifically, because like we get it from the movies. There used to be like a pretty rough place, a lot of gangs, and
yeah,
you could run into problems here and there.
yeah, yeah.
Was it like that, and is it like that?
Good question.
Well, I'm pretty sure like those gangsters, they were like really tough and everything back then, but then like probably like in the 80s or 90s now.
Mm.
So there's this one time I was eating dinner with my wife in one of the like tens, right, in like somewhere in Mongkok, and then this guy walked in, like, and you can tell like he's got that walk, that you only see in the movies, right? And then he's got like the gold chains and everything, and then he sat down, and then he was like, he's a regular to that restaurant, right? And he was talking to one of the waiters, and like the way he talks and the content, he was like, they're like dialogues from the movies, man. It's like, are you for real, man? So yeah, and those guys are probably like 80s and 90s right now, and we don't see a lot of gang stuff nowadays. It's pretty safe. I mean, like I can walk out, probably like holding my wallet, nothing will happen. Yeah. I mean, is there a third part to the question?
No, 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 no. There's no parts to this question. Yeah,
All right.
I have another question, a different question.
Yeah.
So we were talking about competition and stuff like that. So like, what would you say your view on competing? Like, we could talk about like creating a new formula for a competition that would be favorable to a particular art or Chinese martial arts or traditional arts
Yeah.
in general, right? Like the way, for example, like karate combat did for karate, or the way initially UFC did for, I would say, BJJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say they created a format that was favorable to what they do.
It was almost like their own promotional
Initially,
venture.
it kind of ran away.
Yeah.
It became less favorable to jiu-jitsu. I mean, you're not seeing any
Yeah.
BJJ champions right now, but um, pure, BJJ. Anyway, so but initially that was the idea. Or would you say that maybe it's better to adapt to particular existing formats and the way that like Lyoto Machida, for example, did for karate and UFC, for example, or like Stephen Thompson or these like karate guys that showed that they, hey, this stuff works. You could you add a little of takedown defense, and then it starts to work. Like and my follow-up question to that would be what would be the best formats for Chinese martial arts to participate in, like let's say like MMA, or is it like Shuai Jiao is a good format for any wushu style, for example, or like maybe Kambot Sambo, or maybe something else.
Okay, so new
I think
new format, existing format, and if existing format, what might be the best testing ground?
Yeah,
I think it's easier for Taiji in this regard because they already have like the push hand competitions.
Yeah,
I think like the one they have in Taiwan, it's like the 17th year, 19th year they're doing this now. So it's quite established. Right? So there are existing competitions already. It's whether we should adopt those, like we should widen like the rules, like maybe we can adopt it into Hong Kong. Like I think in Hong Kong there are still like push hand competitions, but they use different rules. Like to my knowledge, they use different rule sets, and I think the ones I see in Hong Kong, they are more favorable to like the Chen style people, because the way they practice is more like more shuai jiao. Like they're going for it, man. Like and the ones I see like in Taiwan where they have the stationary format, that's more like open to the different styles, like the Yang, the Wu, you know. Yeah. And in Taiwan, they also have the moving format as well, which I mean, it's cool. I mean, like if you do Chan style or if you like to move, then yeah, you can apply for both, right? So for Tai Chi, it's easier, but then like for Mantis, well, what is best for Mantis style? I don't know. I mean, like boxing, maybe. Well, it end up looking like a boxing match, I think, in the end. I'm not sure. Or Sanda, it will end up looking like Sanda. Or yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it's like with Tai Chi, it's because it's a grappling style, so we have the existing grappling competitions. I mean, as long as there's no groundwork, it's fine. You know, for Tai Chi.
So would you say that like let's say Tai Chi guys are better off just going off to like a Shuai Jiao competition or something like that?
Yeah, they should. And
Yeah.
I mean, maybe without the Shuai Jiao uniform, so it'd be more like just grappling, like without a gi. Yeah.
Yeah. I would slightly disagree on the Mantis because I think we have like tons of throwing in Mantis, like lots. But I would say striking and throwing it's like 60-40 probably with the regards to that. But yeah, I mean, it depends on what kind of technique you stress on, of course. But at least in what we are learning is like strikes are there to set up the throws, and the throws are there to make it easier to strike, sort of.
Yeah.
At least in in what we do. Yeah. Okay.
But then if like a Mantis person enters those competition, like if he enters like a grappling competition, then he wouldn't be able to strike, right? That's the thing. That's
so,
like what I was trying to get at. Because like with a Tai Chi person, we don't strike much anyways. So that's fine for us.
It would be like probably something like an MMA without the groundwork.
Yeah.
Striking and throwing.
Throwing. So that would be like again, like a little bit like Sanda. Then
a little bit like Sanda, except like MMA gloves maybe or something.
Yeah, with MMA gloves.
Elbows, knees, they gotta all be there.
Yeah. And probably a jacket is a good idea to because we have a lot of grabbing where you actually grabbing close.
Yeah. Also, I would disagree. I would about the jacket, no jacket for Taiji. I think that's just a matter of adaptation. I think my experience, just because there's a jacket doesn't mean you cannot use a no jacket grip. You can still hook them around the back of the head. You can still get an underhook, whatever. And also
that the reason I say no Shuai Jiao jacket is because if there is a Shuai Jiao jacket, then the Shuai Jiao people will win.
No, I think that's good because I think maybe first year they win, maybe second year they win, but then maybe by the third or fourth year, you guys are like, well, if you grab me, you gave me your wrist. If you grab me, you gave me your elbow. The moment you grab me, I can grab you. Actually, that's just fundamentally, that's just what it is. It's just that you need to have angled in a way, like we talked about with Wing Chun shifting the side, whatever. You need angle in a way where their grab doesn't immediately give them what they want.
Yeah.
And boom, you get what you want, or you shove their elbow in, they kind of, their body lurches this way, you turn back around, throw them over, whatever.
In that case, then the Tai Chi people will need to learn grip fighting as well, because that's kind of like a science in itself to fight for grips in the beginning.
Yeah, but I think that's I mean, Northern Chinese people wore clothing, as far as I know. So I think that should be okay. I think that should be okay.
Right.
I
Yeah.
respect the no jacket mentality because it means a universal applicability.
Yeah.
They have a body,
Mm,
you can work with it. I
yeah.
like the jacket because it gives you an extra, literally an extra surface, an extra layer of
Mm,
possibilities on top of that. But if you,
mhm.
but I would imagine just like all the endless BJJ gi or no gi arguments,
Argument. Yeah.
both do both.
Yeah.
People have bodies and they wear clothes.
Yeah.
So I think I actually I would disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Not against what you're saying, or maybe there should be two
Mhm.
divisions, but um
Which resembles like jujitsu competition. Then you get, a day with gi, and then usually Saturday you fight with gi, and then Sunday no gi. Right.
yeah. But hey, I think that would be you could see some really cool stuff come out, and you could see where variations upon the same techniques
Yeah.
work better in with a certain grip fighting context than another. You
Yeah. Yeah.
know, I think really cool things could come out from that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I just have to add one thing that in Russia, you're not gonna find any bodies without closing any time of the year. So no gi is not that popular here.
Oh,
If you're looking for real application, I mean, people wear tons of clothing. All even in the summer. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna have anybody walking around shirtless. Yeah, unless you're very far south somewhere.
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. So that's, with the competition, that's the way I envision it. But yeah,
Cool.
maybe later I if like they're done with like the lockdowns and everything, like the next push hand competitions in Taiwan, possibly, I want, even if I don't compete, I want to come and watch,
Mm,
because it's a lot more developed and established in Taiwan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be cool. You should hit me up when you if that happens.
Yeah.
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 Joseph, you can come too.
Yeah,
Quick plane ticket,
absolutely.
whatever.
Yeah, I'm coming to watch. I'm not getting thrown around at this age. Yeah, unless there's lots of snow.
Yeah, no, we gotta go to the
I'll
tallest mountain out here to find that.
yeah, I gotta bring your own my own snow, right? Okay. So yeah, I got a thing like I think we could have like a follow up later on at some point about praying mantis in general, maybe more mantis specific,
Yep.
because I got a bunch of stuff that I would like to talk about mantis, but I think we're gonna get into a whole new conversation
Yeah.
another
I
couple hours.
that
So
Yeah.
yeah, that would be a whole nother thing. And because that's also a very interesting angle, since if I'm not mistaken, all three of our experiences with mantises would be considered different, right? And we're all coming
Mhm.
from different parts of this family tree, right? So
Yeah.
that is already just a topic in of itself, minus, without having to talk about, how do we traditional martial arts, modern age, competition, what can we learn from this? That,
Mhm.
yeah, we can separate that easily.
Yeah.
all right,
And
so
if possible, maybe I can ask my mentor Sifu to join us in the
oh,
discussion,
that would be
if
awesome.
if
That
he's
would be
willing.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I
That'd
think
be
he's
cool.
he's probably quite open to this.
Nice.
Just
That's
needs a
great.
bit persuasion. Yeah. I'll get to it.
That'd be great. Yeah, because
Yeah.
our main focus is mantis. I mean for me definitely.
Yeah.
Vincent does mantis, did a lot of mantis,
Yeah.
and you
You
do
guys
mantis
probably,
currently.
let him talk, and like I would just like sit next to him and just nod.
Yeah, yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. So, uh, um, do we have any more questions?
I don't
Or
have anything
no?
else. No.
Then let's just I guess wrap it up. This was really good. I say I
Yeah.
learned a lot,
Yeah.
and
Thank you. I learned so much, like from like hearing all your different ideas and visions. I mean, it's just great, talking about something you like.
Yeah, no, and I think there's always there's more reason to be optimistic than pessimistic about the outcome of this stuff. I mean, the traditional world is dying. People aren't wearing swords and killing each other with them, right? But there's a lot of good stuff that is amazingly still around from there. Obviously, we all care about it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be gravitated the same way, right? At the end of the day, fighting is fighting. But hey, we have a certain bias, and it comes with certain perks. So I think the fact that we're having this kind of conversation, there's probably another group of 2, 3, 4 people somewhere else having the same conversation. And with the internet, with some good fortune, and with more people starting to think this way, re-examining this stuff, being like, wait, that's a throw. Wait, that's a punch into a lock. Okay. The more people that are working through this, I think yes, like you said, some styles or some systems may die, which sucks. But I think there may be a brighter future, and someday all these ideas we talked about, it might actually have funding, and we might be seeing young people going out there smashing each other, with various traditional Chinese martial arts, right? So, anyways, I'm Vincent. On Instagram, it's at the.wandering.warrior. Joseph.
Josef Levitis, Wushu Moskva, on Instagram.
Yeah. And Jimmy, do you want to share your social media?
Oh yeah, Jimmy Pong. You can find me on Instagram as well.
And he's got a YouTube, right? I think you got a YouTube.
Well, that's not really. That's just to record keeping mostly. It's just like my old young videos, and my Instagram is mostly cat pictures.
Yeah, I saw lots of
too much on kung fu. Yeah,
lots of cats.
So the Instagram it is for all of us then. All right.
Right.
Well, that just about wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining us. I feel like it was really good to get another perspective, this time from Hong Kong.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.